Hello everyone, my name is Shan Sweeney, and welcome to my Unreal Engine 4 tutorial series, part 2, for our guns. So now we're going to be creating our projectile, as well as fixing the HUD, because if you noticed, our line trace doesn't actually go to, or our crosshair isn't center with the line trace. So we're going to be making some changes, as well as creating our projectile and shooting our projectile. So first things first is we actually want to make we're going to be editing the projectile that it gives us. So if we go to first person BP, blueprints, we'll have this first person projectile. You want to open this up, but we don't want this wimpy-ass projectile, we want, a bullet. So if you look in the event graph, we already have some coding here. We have on event hit, and if it actually hits something with that simulating physics, it'll add a little bit of an impulse there, a physics impulse, and then it'll destroy itself. So that's basically what's making those boxes move is this. If you want to keep this, you can. I am not going to keep this. I don't really care that, I don't want my bullets to add physics impulses. I don't really care about that, so I'm going to delete that. But we are going to keep destroy actor and we're going to keep event hit because we are going to be using those. So if you go to viewport, we don't want this wimpy spear. This is just dumb. Get this shit out of here. We do want to keep the collision component, however, and we do want to keep the projectile component. But we are going to add a particle system right under the collision component. And we're just going to do this, we're going to call this the bullet trace. You'll see just in a second why I call it that, because if you go to the particle template, type in trace, we have a few traces here, particle traces. Since we're using the assault rifle, we'll use the assault rifle trace for this. And now we have this cool little beam of light, essentially. However, the collision component's a little too big for it, so we're gonna go to collision component and we're gonna actually change the sphere radius to 2. And if you want to, you can move this particle back, but I'm gonna kind of keep it center. And that should be fine for that. Another thing we want to do is change a lot of the projectile settings here. So if you click on projectile, go to the details, we're going to be changing a lot of this stuff. We don't want this to be affected by gravity. We do not want this to bounce. And I think that's about it. But we also want to change the speed. I'm actually going to change this to 15,000. Initial speed to 15,000, max speed also 15,000, and then we're going to go all the way down here and set the velocity to 15,000. So now that we have our projectile set up, let's actually fire it. So if we go back into the character blueprint, we have our input action fire, we have our shooting information that we did in the last video, and we're going to branch out from there and do spawn actor from class. And for the class, we're going to type in projectile here. It's going to be the first person projectile that we just edited. And for the transform is we're going to take the transform from the shooting information function that we made prior. So now, if we go into the scene, click play, if we fire, we see a bullet fire. But there's no sounds or anything, so we'll fix this. So if we go back into our projectile, I'm going to be adding a few things here to the event hit because we didn't do that before. So if we branch out from here, we want to spawn an emitter at location, and we're going to be hooking up the hit location to that. So if it hits something, it'll spawn a particle, and then this particle is going to be called impact metal large. Now we can add stuff in here so it does different impact types for stone and metal and wood, but I'm just going to be using metal large for this one. And we can also randomize it so it's medium or small large. We could do that as well if we wanted to, but for now I'm just going to do large. And I also want this to spawn a sound at that same location. And once again, we're going to type in impact. It's going to be an impact sound from our asset that we added in here. And I'm going to do, so there are two different ones. There's impact body and there's an impact surface. We're going to be using the surface one, the rifle surface Q. And if we bring this down, we're going to click the attenuation settings, and we're going to do projectile impact for that one. And then we can also just hook this up into destroy actor, compile, save. So now if we go back into the playhead, or into play, we can see the particle effect from its hitting, and we can hear a little ricochet sound. So that's nice and all. But let's add some more animations here, because we want this to really sound like a gun. So we're going to hook up that montage that we didn't delete earlier. If you deleted it, you could just drag out the mesh 2p, get anim instance, like here, drag that out, do montage play, and make sure it's the first person firing. From here, we're going to drag out the gun, and this is the reason why we wanted the skeletal mesh, because now we can actually also play a montage on the gun. So now we're going to select fire rifle, because we're using the rifle. And that's basically it. So now if we go back, click play. Oops, something messed up here. I guess we'll do play animation, see if that one works. Play rifle montage. Let's see if that one works. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So instead of play montage, just do play animation. You can select the montage. So now, if we click play, our gun fires. We see a particle effect, and our bullet fires. So you can go back into your character blueprint, go to the calculate shooting info function, and you can just turn off the debug line trace, so now you can't see it anymore. So that's now all fine and dandy. We got our gun, it's firing bullets, but the crosshair isn't quite center there. So we want to fix that. So if you open up, this also comes with a HUD class. If you open this up, you can see that it's creating a crosshair here, but instead of messing with these values, we're just going to delete all this. And for now, just delete all of it, because we're actually going to be creating a widget blueprint. And we'll just call this the FP_HUD. Now if we open this up, we have a designer tab and a graph tab. We're just going to be worrying about the graph tab for now, and if you go to the left here, we're going to be dragging out an image onto the canvas, and we want to change the anchor to center. It didn't move with it, so we're just going to click these arrows here, and then we're also going to type in 0.5 for the alignment so that it is perfectly centered. We're going to be changing the size to 50 so that it is perfectly square. And then if we go to appearance, brush, we can actually type in crosshair. First person crosshair. And now we actually have it. Compile, save. That's all we really need. So now if we go back to the first person HUD class, which is in the blueprints first person BP, drag this out, we're going to create a widget. And we're going to do the widget that we just made. It's going to ask for an owning player. We're just going to get player controller here. Then from here, we'll actually promote this to a variable, and we'll just call this the player HUD reference. And then we also want to add that to the viewport. Add to viewport, hook that up. Now, this should actually be the center of the screen. So click play. It's a little bit big, but now our bullet shoots perfectly center in the screen. Well, our crosshairs lined up in the center of the screen now, is all that really changed. I kind of want to adjust the size of this a little bit. Maybe, can we, does this actually do anything? The image size? Nope, that didn't do shit. We'll change this to 25. It's a little small, but that's fine. So, our crosshair is now fixed. And, yeah, I think that's going to end it for this part. For the next part, we're going to be fixing up some of the animations and adding a little bit more to the HUD. So, and we'll also add, like, ammo and stuff like that to the gun. So, yeah, that's it for this part. So, join me in part 3. If you want. You don't have to, though. Anyways, see ya.